Merry Christmas, everyone! We are so excited to be kicking off week 2 of Chaotic Christmas. Artificial intelligence used to be the stuff of science fiction. The idea that of computers were learning, communicating, and even thinking for themselves was totally far-fetched. Robots were fun characters like Wall-E or R2-D2, or sometimes straight up villains like Ultron from Marvel. But now, it's not exactly fiction anymore. Just a few weeks ago, I was using AI to help me plan a vacation. I told ChatGPT where I was going and when, and some of the things that I wanted to do, where I also wanted to stay. The next thing I know, I have a full trip itinerary with activities for each day, where I should go, what I should see, and when. Something that would have taken hours of research and time all of a sudden took less than a minute. AI has completely changed how we live, learn, and create. The interesting thing about these huge changes is that before they happen, they're almost impossible to predict. But after they arrive, we can barely imagine our lives without them. And as big as AI is, there's one game-changing, life-altering moment that rises above all of them. Bigger than AI and bigger than everything. Over 2,000 years ago, in a tiny town less than 10 miles outside of Jerusalem, God became one of us. Not a copy, not a symbol, not an AI-generated summary of God, but the real, infinite God stepped into time, took on flesh, and lived among us. Jesus didn't just come to enhance life, he came to give it. So why does this matter for us? This matters because God doesn't have to be some mysterious far-off being. He came here and showed us who he was. Now, there's a really important theological word I want you to learn, and it's incarnation, which basically means that Jesus showed up. Incarnation is the physical embodiment of something or someone. So that means Jesus, who is fully God, took on a human body and lived a human life. God became one of us. That idea is so huge that we can't afford to get it wrong. So I want to spend a little time reading the Gospel of John, which was written by one of Jesus' closest followers and friends, John. And in the very first chapter of the Gospel of John, we get one of the clearest descriptions of who Jesus really is. Here's what John 1 verses 1 through 5 tell us. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was God, and the Word was with God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. This light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. Now let's jump down to verse 14. So the Word became human and made his home among us. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness. And as we have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. Did you notice how John referred to Jesus as the Word? It's because words reveal things to us. For example, when we speak, we make our words and our thoughts accessible to the people around us. That's exactly what Jesus does. He makes God accessible. And I love that John didn't start at Jesus' story at birth. That's right. Jesus didn't start in a manger. John said that he was there in the beginning, before galaxies spun, before history started being written, before anything. And John didn't just stop there either. He said that Jesus was both God and he was with God. Plus, through him, everything was created. Your breath, your DNA, the stars that you see when you look up at night, all of that was created through him. Then in verse 14, John drops something that almost feels impossible. The Word became human. The God who made everything became one of us. He got a body, he got hungry, he got tired, he laughed so hard that his side hurt, he cried when his heart broke, he knew betrayal, he experienced joy, The Creator became one of us. When Jesus became human, he didn't just step into the fun parts of life. It wasn't all just birthday parties, campfire stories, and time with friends. He also walked through the messy, complicated parts of being a human being. He knew what it was like to be sad, to feel hungry, and yes, he even had to deal with the awkwardness of being a teenager. But God, in his full and unfailing love and faithfulness, that love, a love that doesn't fail, that doesn't give up, a love that shows up when you least deserve it and most need it, that's what he shows us. So take a break and talk about it with your small group following the group guide. So, what does John 1 really teach us about Jesus? There are a couple of truths here that are so important that we can't just skim past them. So let's slow down and walk through them one at a time, because these truths can change everything about how we see him, how we see ourselves, and how we live. The first truth that we're going to be looking at is Jesus has always been God. John didn't just let us ease into this. He opened up with a bombshell. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. That means Jesus didn't become God somewhere along the way. He didn't just level up like a video game character. God didn't promote him to divine status. Jesus was already God before there was even a before. So, why does this matter? Because if Jesus has always been God, he's not just an add-on. He's not just a good teacher that you can take or leave. He is God himself. Jesus is all-powerful, all-knowing, greater than we could ever imagine, and that means he is worthy of our worship. But here's what makes this a little bit more incredible. This eternal, all-powerful God didn't stay distant. He chose to get close. So, because Jesus has always been God, second truth is that Jesus became one of us. Let's look back at the first part of John 1:14. So, the Word became human and made his home among us. The God who created galaxies and sunsets also stepped into the messiness of real human life, experiencing exhaustion, betrayal, grief, and being misunderstood. Jesus didn't live a filtered version of life. He felt the same pain, pressure, and loneliness that we often do, which means he truly understands what we go through. But why would Jesus do that? When I was in college, in my sophomore year, I was really being challenged and struggling in a lot of different areas, but this one day felt particularly hard. And so I did what I always did, and I called my mom and I told her what was going on and how I really just wanted to come home, but I had to stay in Abilene. And without missing a beat, my mom got in her car and drove 3 hours to come see me and met me in my struggle. Why did she do that though? She did that because Jesus shows us that love doesn't watch from the sidelines. That's the beauty of the Incarnation. God didn't just send a message, he sent himself. And because God showed up when you cry out in frustration or heartbreak, we're not talking to a God who says, I can imagine what that feels like. You're talking to the one who says, I know, I've been there too. But he didn't just become one of us so that he could relate. He became one of us so that he could rescue. Have you ever thought what it would be like to be a first responder? To have your job be saving people's lives? If you were a firefighter and you get a call, you immediately spring into action. You don't care where the fire is, if it's a house or a restaurant, if it's convenient or not. Your job is to get to the fire and rescue anyone inside and then put the fire out. Even if that means going into a situation that is scary or dangerous, you do it because you want to save the life that is in danger. But if you're a firefighter, how can you save someone if you don't go into the burning building? This is exactly what Jesus does. Jesus became one of us so that he could rescue us, because to truly rescue a person, you have to meet them in their fire and in their struggle. Jesus shows up in your burning buildings because he knows that your only way out is with him. Before Jesus, humans were trying to figure out the answer to some of life's deepest questions. Who is God and how can we know him? What does he want from us? And there had been a glimpse of God through creation and through the law and prophets, but there were still so many unanswered questions. But when Jesus showed up, suddenly people could see God's heart up close. They could see his love up close. They could finally see that God wasn't just some distant, impersonal deity. Instead, he's a caring creator who who loves us enough to join us and bring us life into our broken world. What does that mean for us? How can we live this out? I would say share the light of Jesus with someone else. The incarnate Jesus didn't come to be the light of the world for just you. He became to be the light for everyone. And one of the best ways to understand how amazing that gift really is to share it with someone else. The best way to share Jesus' light isn't always with words. One of the ways that we can share the gospel is through how we treat and serve other people. So this week, I want to challenge you to look for someone in your life who needs to experience Jesus' love through your actions. Maybe you could share Jesus' love by helping a friend with something difficult, or by helping your mom or dad without even being asked, or by just listening to someone talk about their struggles. Just as God met us in our struggles by sending Jesus to live among us, we are called to meet others in their struggles, offering presence, compassion, and understanding. This is what the gospel says. When we do this, we reflect the very heart of God. The same love that moved him to step into our place on the world, we get to do to other people through our love of Christ.